Thank you very much indeed. Hello, I'm Alexander Armstrong, and welcome to Pointless, the game where we aim for the obscure and we ignore, we shun the obvious. Let's meet today's players. And couple number one.
Hi, I'm James. This is my friend Joe, and we're from London.
Couple number two.
Hi, I'm Martin. This is my wife, Joyce, and we're from Torpoint in Cornwall.
Couple number three.
Hello, I'm Brendan, and this is my fantastic wife, Sarah, and we're from Norfolk.
And finally, couple number four.
Hi, I'm Chris. This is Jasmine, and we're from London.
And these are today's contestants. Thank you very much, everybody. A very warm welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you here on Pointless. That just leaves one more person for me to introduce. He's out to defeat ignorance, but ignorance never sleeps. Or at least, I think it doesn't. I'm normally asleep at the time. It's my pointless friend, it's Richard.
Hiya. Hey, everybody. Hello there.
Hi there.
This jackpot is building up quite nicely now.
Isn't it? I like a big jackpot. I get very excited.
I mean, listen,
by a big
we've
jackpot.
seen a lot bigger, but it's on its way.
Yeah.
You know, it's on its way up. Joe and James back for their final show. Been through to the head-to-head both times so far, though, which is quite impressive. Brendan and Sarah knocked out in round 2 last time. Lovely to have you back as well. But, yeah, our new pairs, you picked a good day to come, I would say, given, you know, it's a nice sum.
It's a nice sum.
You wouldn't turn it down, is all I'll say.
No, you would not. No, you absolutely wouldn't. And by the way, you'll have picked up from the gist of what we're saying that Mark and Kat, who were good, didn't win the jackpot, which means we're adding another £1,000 to it. So today's jackpot starts off at £7,750. There we are. Right, if everyone's ready, let's play Pointless. Now, at the end of every round, the pair with the highest score will be eliminated. So you just have to remember that. Keep your scores as low as you dare. Best of luck to all 4 pairs. Our first category this afternoon is UK hit singles. Can you all decide in your pairs who's going to go first, who's going to go second? And whoever's going first, please step up to the podium. OK, and the question concerns of the songs.
Yeah, on each board, I'm going to show you 7 UK Top 40 singles that are something of the something, but we've missed the last word out of each one. Can you tell us what these songs are, please?
Thank you very much indeed. Let's reveal our first 7 clues of the songs. Song of the blank, Johnny Ray, 1955. Children of the blank, T-Rex, 1972. Eye of the blank, Survivor, 1982. End of the blank, Boys to Men, 1992. Sound of the blank, Girls Aloud, 2002. Beware of the blank, Jamelia, 2006. And Sign of the blank, Harry Styles, 2017. There we are. James, remind us all about yourself. Tell us more, James.
So, hi, I'm James. I'm a civil servant from London. A long time ago, in my spare time, I used to like to direct short films starring my brothers, which I think was just an excuse because I'm the eldest to pull rank and boss them around.
Yeah, it's fun. Now, how many brothers have you got?
2 younger brothers, Sam and Charlie, they're called.
Sam and Charlie. Did either of them go into acting?
No.
Yeah,
no.
well, thanks, James.
But they're
Look
quite
what you
good.
did. Yeah, they're quite good. James, the board, what are you going to go for?
So there's a few on there that I know. And I think I'm going to go for the Boys to Men song, which is End of the Road.
End of the Road, says James. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Road for Boys to Men. End of the Road is right. That's a good answer, James. Down he goes to 33. Not bad at all. Strong start.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. It's only #1 in the UK, but really, really huge in the States. That broke Elvis Presley's record with Hound Dog for the longest running #1 in America. That's an absolute banger, though, End of the Road.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
what a song.
Thank you very much indeed. Richard, now then Joyce. Joyce, welcome.
Hello.
Lovely to have you here. Tell us all about yourself.
Well, my name is Joyce and I live in Cornwall and I'm a funeral celebrant.
Very important.
It's very important.
Very important. A role
It's
that
very
I'm
important.
sure you bring great dignity to. What do you do in your spare time, Joyce? What do you like to get up to?
Oh, I belong to the local WI.
Excellent.
I like walking and things like that.
Lovely. And what a beautiful place to walk. Now, Joyce, what are you going to go for on our board?
Well, I've looked at them all and I was a big fan of Mark Bolan back in the day. So I'm going to go for Children of the Revolution.
Children of the Revolution, says Joyce. Let's find out how many of our 100 people said Children of the Revolution for T-Rex. It's right. 33 is the only score we have at the moment. Down it goes to 47. Not bad.
Yeah, they had 4 #1s and 4 #2s T-Rex in their time. Some of their #2s were kept off #1. One of them was kept off #1 by Grandad by Clive Dunn. One of them was kept off number 1 by Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool by Little Jimmy Osmond. And one of them was kept off number 1 by Ernie, the Fastest Milkman in the West by Benny Hill. That's a
They
run and a
must have
half,
been
isn't it?
cross about that.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Thank you very much. Now then, Sarah, welcome back. Remind us all about yourself.
I am a primary school teacher. I teach reception.
How long have you been doing that?
I'm actually an NQT, so I've just qualified.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, that's very lovely. And do you love it?
Yes, I love it, and I love all of them. They're like my little children.
Oh, I bet. And I bet they love you too. Sarah, what are you going to go for?
I think I have to go for this band because I remember buying the single to try and help them win, and I'm going to go for Girls Aloud, Sound of the Underground.
Do you know what was weird? Is I could tell, wouldn't have thought I'd be able to gauge, but I knew from where your eyes were looking from over there, that was one you were going to go for.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is how amazing I am that I can divide the screen up into 7, and I can work out just from your eyes over there.
You're like one of the Avengers.
Yeah, I think I probably am.
With your special skills.
I probably have superpowers.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, get Xander along. He can tell roughly where someone's looking. If you're at the chip shop, can you tell what picture someone's looking at on the board?
If I was working,
that guy's looking at a Savoy.
If I was working at the chip shop, I would know what they're about to order from where they were looking on the thing behind me. I go, say no more, and I dish it up.
Battered sausage.
And then I get it in the face. They go, oi, that's not what I wanted.
Wow, that is amazing.
Such a skill.
I didn't know you had that skill.
Nor did I till now. Till now. Amazing. Sarah, thank you. Thank you. OK. What are you going to go for? No, sorry, you said. I know that.
I mean, genuinely, because often, you know, if you have enhanced senses, it kind of dulls your other senses sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, my chip shop job's just gone up in smoke. Can't believe it. Yeah. Sound of the Underground, says Sarah. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Sound of the Underground. That goes down to 60. Not bad. 60 for Sound of the Underground.
Yeah, and as you say, it was when Pop Stars The Rivals, when Girls Aloud were formed. Did you remember the boy band which they beat? That's show business, isn't it? One True Voice was the boy band. I tell you who genuinely does use the kind of where they look in. When you watch the darts and someone throws 2 darts and they spot when the person's going down for the 19s or for the 17s, and they have someone in the gallery who's a spotter who will say to the camera, 19, 17, or, you know, tell you exactly where they're going, just by where they look.
Clever.
It's clever, isn't it? You could do that.
I could do that.
You'd be amazing.
I'd be a great
Don't
spotter.
do that.
I'm off, right.
I'll get on the phone to Sue Barker.
Yeah, any day now. Any day now, Rich. Now, Jasmine, welcome. Lovely to have you here. Tell us all about yourself.
Lovely to be here. I'm a PR consultant for consumer brands as my day job. So that's working with everything from travel to entertainment to toiletries brands. So lots of different things there.
Oh, that sounds fun. Plenty of variety in there. Now then, Jasmine, what are you going to go for? You're the last person to have this board. If you wanted, you could fill in all the blanks for us.
I thought you might ask me to do that. I'm not 100% on the first one, so I'm going to leave that for now. Eye of the Tiger. Jamelia one, I feel like it could be dog, but I don't know why. So I'm going to go for the last one, Sign of the Times, Harry Styles.
Sign of the Times for Harry Styles, says Jasmine. Let's find out how many of our 100 people said Sign of the Times. It is Sign of the Times. Very well done indeed. 60 is our high score. 68 is our new high score.
Yeah, well played, Jasmine. Not the same song as the Prince song or the Belle Stars song, but it was his first UK solo single, number 1 as well.
Exactly, I remember that, yeah.
From Sign of the Times.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's difficult to risk, but Beware of the Dog would have been a very good risk to take. It's the correct answer. Would have scored 12 points as well. The top one, I mean, yeah, Song of the Dreamer. Song of the Dreamer by Johnny Ray. That would have scored 1 point. Well done if you said that. And now this is a song that's now, what's that, nearly 40 years old. What do you think it scored?
I should think 86.
91.
Oh, that's good.
91 for a 40-year-old song.
That's amazing. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Well, we are halfway through the round. Let's have a quick look at those scores. 33, James. Very well done indeed. Best score of the past, that turns out to be. And then we go up to 47, which is where we find Joyce and Martin. Then up to 60, where we find Sarah and Brendan. And then up to 68, Jasmine and Chris. So, Chris, yes, you get the new board. Try and find a nice correspondingly low score, and that'll level things up
try.
beautifully.
I'll
OK,
try.
good luck with that. We're going to come back down the line now. Will the second players please step up to the podium? OK, let's put 7 more clues to of the songs up on the board, and here they are. We've got leader of the blank Shangri-Las, 1965. The name of the blank ABBA, 1977. Union of the blank Duran Duran, 1983. Rhythm of the blank DeBarge, 1985. Sail of the blank Sleeper, 1996. King of the blank Kate Bush, 2005. And South of the blank Ed Sheeran, Camila Cabello, Cardi B, 2019. There we are. Chris, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Cheers,
Tell
thank
us
you.
all about yourself.
I work as a project manager for an engineering and design consultancy in London.
That sounds fun. So what kind of engineering is this? Is this
So my company does transportation. I work specifically on rail projects mainly. So trains, tubes, tramways, all that kind of thing.
That's fun. We need them. What gets us to work.
Exactly.
Chris, what are you going to go for? You're on 68.
I was really struggling there, and I think that the one at the bottom has just come to me. Is it South of the Border?
South of the... I mean, who knows? Shall we find out? You are
I
the high
don't know,
scorer,
so
so
I hope
there's
it is.
no red line for you. But let's see how many of our 100 people said border, south of the border. It feels right to me. It is right. Takes it down to 28. Not bad at all. In fact, the lowest score of the round so far. Just what we needed from you. 96 is your new total.
Yep, very well played, giving yourself a good chance there. Again, that's a song that's a similar title to lots of other songs. Sinatra did a South of the Border. I think Robbie Williams had a South of the Border as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Now, Brendan. Brendan, welcome back. Remind us all about yourself. Tell us more about Brendan.
So I'm a senior lecturer in creative film, television and digital media production.
So, I mean, are you part of the creative writing side of film and television, or is it...
Well, it's funny you say that because I am actually doing my master's in creative writing at the moment, so with the Open University. So I do a lot of writing as well.
Excellent. Lovely. All right, Brendan, you're on 60. We're looking for a score of 35 or less from you.
I think I know at least 4 of them, but I'm going to go for the top one, which is the leader of the pack.
Yes. And do you know what? That's weird, because you pointed then, and I could tell you were pointing at the top of the board there.
So you can it's not just eyes.
not
You can
just
do
eyes.
it like if people are pointing.
Clearly, it is a talent that I can extend to other
Mediums.
areas, other media. Yes.
Sorry, were you talking to me? I find it... Sorry, I couldn't work out who you were. So sorry, I don't have the gift.
No, you have the...
So sorry.
Right, yes, so Brendan is going to go with leader of the pack. Let's see how many of our 100 people said that. Look, there's your red line. It's right. Oh, it's a big score, Brendan. 75 takes your total up to 135.
Yeah, banned by the BBC, leader of the pack when it first came out.
Why?
They thought it encouraged violence and also dark themes.
Was it the revving of the motorbikes?
It was
Scared people?
supposedly it was going to stoke up trouble between the mods and the rockers.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. OK, now, Martin, welcome. Lovely to have you here. Tell us all about yourself.
Hi, I'm Martin. I'm retired. Currently chairman of my local choir, Rain Peninsula Male Voice Choir.
Rain Peninsula is where you're from now, but the northeast is where you hail from. Another of my skills, by the way.
You can tell.
Unless
Yeah.
I interrupted Martin. He's actually from Wales.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched recently, but Zana can tell exactly where someone's from just by their accent.
I know, it's amazing.
I was born in Blackpool.
Blackpool. See?
Beautiful jewel of the northeast.
Martin, when did you move down to Cornwall?
15 years ago.
50. I see. Is it heaven down there?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I bet. Now, Martin, you're on 47. If you could score 87 or less, you are through to the next round.
Both of those 2 answers I knew. The rest I'm not sure of. I've got 2 I could go for with a guess. I'll go for King of the Jungle, Kate Bush.
King of the Jungle for Kate Bush. Let's see if that's right. Let's see how many of our 100 people said jungle. Here is your red line, nice and high. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Martin. Not King of the Jungle. That scores you 100 points, takes your total up to 147.
Sorry, Martin. Fits nicely, but I'll give the correct answer at the end of the pass.
Thank you very much, Richard. Now then, Joe, welcome back. Great news for you. Just to take a weight off, you are through to the next round. Doesn't matter what you score. But tell us more about yourself, Joe.
So I'm Joe. I'm from London. And I'm a big West Ham United fan. So go to a lot of the home games, some of the away games when I can, with my brother and dad. So it's a nice family thing.
Oh, that's nice. And have you always gone as a trio?
Yes, from about the age of 8. I think there's not much point taking children under 8 to the football.
No,
they can't really concentrate. But from then onwards, yeah.
I should imagine your vocabulary expanded quite substantially from the age of 8 onwards.
Absolutely, yeah. Learned a few choice words on the terraces.
What's it your dad just said? What you hear on the terrace stays on the terrace.
Oh, well, no, I think it was don't tell mum.
Don't tell mum, or don't tell mum. It's not the same sort of thing. OK, now, Joe, you're on 33, as I say. It doesn't matter what you score. What are you going to go for? Do you want to take us through the board, in fact?
So I think that ABBA is name of the game. I think that it's Rhythm of the Night. I'm not too sure on Kate Bush or Sleeper, but as we're already through, I'll take a bit of a punt on Duran Duran. Union of the Damned.
Union of the Damned, says Joe. No red line for you, as you're already through. How many of our 100 said Union of the Damned? Is it right? No. But listen, why not? Worth having a punt on. Scores 100 points, takes your total up to 133. Couldn't matter less.
Yeah, we like a guess. Funnily enough, it's one of those ones where we could be here all day if you're just guessing on that one, because it's Union of the... Snake. So, yeah, I know, yeah, R is exactly right. Would have scored 19 points, Union of the Snake. Let's clear up the Kate Bush one. Not King of the Jungle. It is King of the Mountain. King of the Mountain. 6 points for that. The Sleeper song.
Sale of the Century.
Sale of the Century. Top 10 hit for them. Would have scored 34. It is Rhythm of the Night. Debarge would have scored 62. And The Name of the Game, absolutely, by ABBA. And that would have scored 66. So the best answer on the board there, King of the Mountain. Very well done if you said that.
Thanks very much indeed, Richard. Well, that brings us to the end of our first round. It means we have to say goodbye to our first pair, Martin and Joyce. I'm so sorry. You've only just got here. Lovely to have you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Look forward to it very much, Martin and Joyce. But for the remaining 3 pairs, it is now time for round 2. Very well done, everybody. We made it through our song round. Our category for round 2 this afternoon is UK politics. There we go. Can you all decide in your pairs who wants to go first, who wants to go second, and whoever's going first, please step up to the podium. OK, let's find out what the question is. Here it comes. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many Prime Ministers who held another great office of state as they could. Richard.
Yep, certainly looking for any UK Prime Minister who has also been either Chancellor, Foreign Secretary or Home Secretary at some point in their career. So all the way through from 1721 to 2021, any Prime Minister who's also held one of those other 3 great offices of state.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. There we are. Nothing to add to that. Joe, what are you going to go for?
So I'm going to go for someone who I think actually held all 4 great offices of state at some point in his career. James Callaghan, Jim Callaghan.
OK, James Callaghan, says Joe. Let's see how many of our 100 people said James Callaghan. James Callaghan is absolutely right. That's a great answer, 11. What a good start to the round. Thank you, Joe, for 11.
And you're quite right, Joe. Yeah, he did hold all 4 of them, the only person in the 20th century to do so.
Thank you, Richard. Now then, Brendan.
OK. What about H.H. Asquith?
H.H. Asquith. Shall we find out if that's right? Shall we find out how many of our 100 said it? H.H. Asquith. It's right. 11 is the only score we have at the moment. And you pass it. Oh, it's a pointless answer. It's a pointless answer, if you please. That adds another £250 to today's jackpot, takes the total up to an altogether more agreeable round 8,000. There we are. It scores you nothing and is just generally marvellous. Well done. Good.
Yeah, he'd been Home Secretary and Chancellor of the Exchequer before becoming Prime Minister, Liberal Prime Minister in 1908. The only Prime Minister ever to have been sworn in on foreign soil, because Edward VII was in Biarritz when he took over. So he went over there and was sworn in.
Well, Edward VII just didn't fancy coming home.
One assumed so. They could sort of do what they want.
Yes, I
back in
suppose
those
so.
days, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Wouldn't get that from the Queen.
You would
She'd
not.
be over.
No, she'd be over.
Wouldn't she?
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Now then, Chris. Chris.
Yes, yes. So the ones I probably know for sure are the more recent ones, or the very famous ones. So it's whether I go for a bit of a banker or take a risk. Noting the two good scores so far.
Yeah. You could argue that it's taking a risk to go high score in the current environment, I'd say.
True, true. I'll go for William Gladstone.
William Gladstone says Chris. Let's see if it's right. Let's see how many of our 100 people said William Gladstone. Again, it's right. Well, 11's the high score, nothing is the low. You passed the high, down to 2. Very well done indeed. 2 for William Gladstone.
Well done, Chris. Well done for taking the risk. Yeah, 4-time Liberal Prime Minister Gladstone, and he was also 4-time Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Well, we're halfway through the round. Let's just have a quick look at those scores before we come back down the line. Nothing the best score of the pass. Brendan, very well done indeed. Then we're up to 2 to Chris and Jasmine, and then up to 11 where we find Joe and James. Anything could happen in the next pass, James, but we'll definitely need a low score from you. So good luck with that. We're going to come back down the line now. Will the second players please step up to the podium? OK, so Jasmine, remember, we're looking for any UK Prime Minister who's also held one of the other great offices of state. You're on 2. 8 or less gets you through at this stage.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't go risky then. I think I'm going to go for it. Harold Macmillan.
Harold Macmillan says, Jasmine, here is your red line. Let's see if we can get you below this red line with Harold Macmillan. It's right. You've done it. Very well done indeed. 5 for Harold Macmillan, taking your total up to 7.
Very well played, Jasmine. Yeah, he went directly from Foreign Secretary to Chancellor to Prime Minister Harold Macmillan.
Thank you very much, Richard. Now, Sarah. Sarah, you're on nothing. If we can score 10 or less, you're into the head-to-head.
OK. I think I have a name. I'm not 100%, but I'm going to have to take a gamble. Stanley Attlee.
OK, Stanley Attlee.
No, I don't think that's right.
Says Sarah. OK, Stanley Attlee, don't worry. We'll put it to the test, see what happens. Here is your red line. Stanley Attlee. No, I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry. I'm afraid that's incorrect. Scores you 100 points, takes your total up to 100.
Yeah, sorry, Sarah. You had to go low, I think, on this round, but yeah, incorrect answer.
Thanks very much, Richard. Now then, James. Well, that has just opened the door for you a bit, all looking a little bit scary on the near podium. You're on 11. You need to score 88 or less.
So, this person, I'm pretty sure, was Foreign Secretary in the 40s and then was Prime Minister in the 50s. So I'm going to go for Anthony Eden.
Anthony Eden, says James. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Anthony Eden. Here's your red line. Lovely and high. It's right, and you're through. Very well done. And Anthony Eden takes you down to 9. There we are, taking your total up to a lovely round 20.
Yeah, very well played. As you say, Foreign Secretary 3 times, the 30s, 40s and 50s. Anthony Eden, it's a very good answer. Now, Sarah, you're mixing up Clement Attlee and Stanley Baldwin. Clement Attlee was an incorrect answer. Stanley Baldwin would have scored you 1 point, though. It would have been a terrific answer. Let's take a look at some pointless answers, shall we? All of these would have added £250 to the jackpot. Arthur Wellesley, Charles Gray, George Canning as a pointless answer. There's Asquith, Gascoigne Cecil, Robert Peel as pointless. Also Robert Walpole, Spencer Perceval, the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated, and William Lamb. All of those are pointless. Very well done if you said one of those.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. So at the end of our second round, the pair we have to send home with their high score of 100. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. Oh, you were... Imagine if you'd got that...
know.
Yeah. We'll see you again next time. I'm sure we'll go much further then. But meantime, thank you so much, Sarah and Brendan. But for the 2 remaining pairs, it is now time for the head-to-head. Congratulations, Chris and Jasmine, Joe and James. You're now 1 step closer to the final and a chance to play for our jackpot, which currently stands at £8,000. But before we play the head-to-head, let's see if we can't make it even bigger by finding some pointless answers. So here goes. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many PG Woodhouse characters as they could. Richard.
Yep, 6 names on the board. 2 will be PG Woodhouse characters that people mentioned. 2 will be PG Woodhouse characters no one mentioned, and 2 will be red herrings. Can you find the 2 pointless PG Woodhouse characters?
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. OK, so let's reveal our board of 6 potential PG Woodhouse characters. And we've got Bat Jarvis, Baxter, Daisy Beaumont, Slingsby, Spotty Muldoon, and Tuppy Glossop. There we are. 5 potential pointless PG Woodhouse characters. Now, Chris and Jasmine, you get to go first, but do feel free to speak as a foursome if you know anything.
Any idea?
We don't know any.
No, we don't know any, I don't think. Maybe Baxter rings a slight bell, but yeah, I don't
That's the
really
one
know.
I was thinking rung a little bell. I quite like the look of Spotty Muldoon, but I don't know what.
I think I'm drawn towards either of the bottom 2.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds good to us.
We'll go Spotty Muldoon, please.
OK, Spotty Muldoon, say Chris and Jasmine. Let's see if that is right. Let's see how many of our 100 people said it. If it is... No, Spotty Muldoon, not a PG Woodhouse character, I'm afraid. Joe and James, one more shot.
Should we take their logic and go for Tuppy Glossop?
Yep, works for me.
We'll go for Tuppy Glossop. On
You're
your
going to go for Tuppy
advice.
Glossop?
Sorry.
OK, let's find out. Is Tuppy Glossop a pointless PG Woodhouse character? Definitely a PG Woodhouse character. No, one of our 100 people got Tuppy Glossop, I'm afraid.
Yes, Spotty Muldoon is from a Peter Cook song. Now, you're president of the PG Woodhouse
I am,
Society,
yeah.
I believe. How are you on this
I think
board?
I'm pretty good on these. Daisy Beaumont is an incorrect answer.
Correct. She's an actor who appeared in the Blanding series.
Which leaves us with Bat Jarvis, Baxter and Slingsby. I would say Slingsby is probably the one that scores a point, and Bat Jarvis and Baxter are probably the 2 pointless.
Nearly. Baxter scores a point, and the other 2, Bat Jarvis and Slingsby, are the pointless answers. Very well done. If you said either of those, do you know which stories they're from?
Don't ask me
Bat
that.
Jarvis is from Smith, journalist. I love this.
Yeah.
I know the Jeeves and Wooster books are very famous, but the Smith books,
good. Yeah.
Smith with a P in front of it, are wonderful if you had not read them. I know you've read them.
There we go, little recommendation. Well, listen, bad luck. We didn't find any pointless answers, but we had some fun, did we not? Let's play the head-to-head. The first pair to win 2 questions will be playing for that jackpot, and you are now allowed to confer. Here comes your first question, and it is all about US bridges. Richard.
Yeah, 5 pictures now of US bridges with alternate letters of their names as well, but what are these bridges, please?
OK, name that bridge. Here they come. We've got A, G-L-E-G-T, bridge. B, C-E-A-E-K, B-Y, bridge. C, L-N-O, bridge. D, B-X-Y-C-E-K, bridge. And E, R-S-M-N, bridge. There we go. Now, Chris and Jasmine, you're our golden couple, so you get to go first.
I don't know any of them for sure. Okay, we'll go A, Golden Gate Bridge, please.
OK, Golden Gate Bridge A, say Chris and Jasmine. Now, Joe and James, can you talk us through some of those other bridges?
So we think B is Chesapeake Bay Bridge. C, I think, is London Bridge. We'd have a pop at Boxey Creek Bridge if we were going for D, and then possibly E is Roseman Bridge. And I think our answer is going to be B, Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
OK, Chesapeake Bay Bridge. So we've got Golden Gate Bridge and Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Chris and Jasmine have gone for Golden Gate Bridge. Let's see if that's right for A. It is right. That's a high score, though, 76 for Golden Gate Bridge. Meanwhile, Joe and James have gone for Chesapeake Bay Bridge. For B, let's see how many of our 100 people said Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It's right, and it beats the Golden Gate. by a margin. Look at that. Down it goes to 19. Very well done indeed, Joe and James. You nicked that one. After one question, you're up 1-0.
Very well played. Yes, sometimes it's just called the Bay Bridge. Now, let's look at the others. London Bridge there would just have beaten Golden Gate Bridge, actually, by 1 point. Scored you 75. You were right about the last one. It is Roseman. It's probably the most famous of the bridges of Madison County. That would have scored 14. Isn't that gorgeous, though?
Well, isn't it? But imagine if you moved into a house just over the river.
Yeah.
And all your removals, when they came, they couldn't get through.
Oh, yeah.
They go, sorry, where are you, Matt? We've been waiting for hours. He goes, yeah, we're at Roseman Bridge.
Yeah. And this last one, you're quite right, it's something Creek Bridge. It's Bixby Creek Bridge.
Bixby. Is that on the Pacific coast?
It is,
Looks
yeah.
like
It's
one
sort of
those, yeah.
Monterey, California area as a pointless answer. Very well done if you said that.
Thank you very much indeed. OK, now, here comes your second question. Now, Chris and Jasmine, we have a problem. You have to win this one to stay in the game. Joe and James get first dibs on the board. So, good luck. Our second question is all about predicting the future. Richard.
Yeah, 5 clues now to predictions and fortune telling and so on. Can you give us the most obscure answer?
Thank you very much indeed. Let's reveal the 5 predicting the future clues, and here they come. We have got cards used for fortune telling, consisting of 56 minor arcana and 22 major arcana. Animated TV programme that foresaw the Donald Trump presidency in the 2000 episode Bart to the Future. French astrologer and physician who first published his prophecies in 1555. The ancient Mayans were widely believed to have predicted that the world would end on the 21st of December in this year. And Andy Warhol famously predicted that in the future, everyone would be world famous for this length of time. There we are. Joe and James will go first.
So I think we're going to go for the top one, which are tarot cards.
Tarot cards, say Joe and James. OK, now, Chris and Jasmine, can you talk us through that board?
Over to you.
So The Simpsons for second one down. Third one we think is Nostradamus. We think it's 2000 for the ancient Mayans.
Okay.
And
Might be 99, actually.
we think it's 15 seconds.
15 minutes.
I think it's seconds.
Might be 99 at the moment.
But shall we go for Nostradamus?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go for Nostradamus. Please.
You're going to go for Nostradamus. OK, so we have tarot cards and we have Nostradamus. Joe and James went for tarot cards at the top. Let's see if that's right. Let's see how many of our 100 said tarot cards. Tarot cards is right. 65 for tarot cards. Meanwhile, Chris and Jasmine have gone for Nostradamus for the middle one, the French astrologer and physician. Let's see how many of our 100 said Nostradamus. Nostradamus is right, and it wins you the point. Very well done indeed. Back in the game. There we are, down to 24. And it means after 2 questions, it's 1-1.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Just knew it. Let's fill these in. You're quite right about The Simpsons. You're right to avoid it as well. Would have scored you 74. The one at the bottom there, you are arguing between 15 minutes and 15 seconds. 15 minutes. Absolutely right. Would have scored 37 points, though, that one. And the ancient Mayans, do you know what year this is? It wasn't 2000, it wasn't 99 either. 2012. 2012. I can confirm they were wrong. Would have scored 14 points, though. Best answer on the board.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Well, it all comes down to a third question. This is the decider. Whoever wins this one goes through to the final place for that jackpot. So very, very best of luck to both pairs. Our third question is all about plays with places in the title. Richard.
Yeah, the titles now are 5 plays with their authors as well. They've each got the name of a place in their title. We're just going to give you the initials of that place. So which places are they, please? Very best of luck. It's a lovely jackpot up for grabs.
Thank you very much. OK, let's reveal our 5 clues, and here they come. We have got Cyrano de B, Edmond Rostand, the Lieutenant of I, Martin McDonough, Who's Afraid of V, Wolfe, Edward Albee, The Last Days of T, Simon Armitage, and August O.C., Tracy Letts. There we are. Now, Chris and Jasmine will go first.
Okay, so we're going to go for the top one and say Bergerac.
Bergerac. Cyrano de Bergerac, say Chris and Jasmine. Now, Joe and James, can you talk us through that board?
We know one for sure, which we think is going to score higher than their guess.
That's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Could go for Orange County for the bottom one.
Yeah, have a pop at that.
Yes, if we go Orange County. For the
OK,
bottom one.
August, Orange County. So we have Bergerac and we have Orange County. Chris and Jasmine have gone for Bergerac for the top one. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Cyrano de Bergerac. Bergerac is right. And that goes down to 51. Meanwhile, Joe and James have gone for August, Orange County for the Tracy Letts. Let's see if that's right. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Orange County. Oh, no. It's not Orange County, which means very well done indeed, Chris and Jasmine. After 3 questions, you are through to the final, 2-1.
Yeah, very well played. Unlucky, gents, you had to go for that risk. Virginia Woolf would have scored you too many points, would have scored you 73. And I think Orange County is a perfectly good guess if you don't know the play. It's August Osage County. I'm afraid won multiple Tony Awards for Tracy Letts, who, funnily enough, also won the Best Actor Tony Award for being in Virginia Woolf as well. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? 4 points for August Osage County. The Last Days of Troy is that answer. Simon Armitage would have scored you 8 points. And you know the Martin McDonagh one?
It's Inishmore, is it?
Inishmore, absolutely. The Lieutenant of Inishmore would have scored you 6 points. Gents, 3 head-to-heads, and they've added £750 to the jackpot over the last few shows as well. Feel a bit guilty.
I feel terrible because with a pair leaving us at the end of the head-to-head round. I mean, Joe and James, you've been a tour de force the whole way through. Absolutely reliable. It always seems unfair when you haven't gone through to the final. And once again, I'd say it's against the grain of play, but this is where we have to say goodbye. Thank you so much for coming to play.
Thank you.
I don't know, come back with moustaches and dueling scars under assumed names and play again. Who knows? Thank you very much indeed. Joe and James. But for Chris and Jasmine, it's time for the Pointless Final. Well, congratulations, Chris and Jasmine. You fought off all the competition and you have won our coveted Pointless trophy. That's yours. You're taking that home with you, whatever happens. You now have a chance to win the Pointless jackpot. At the end of today's show, the jackpot is massive. It's standing at £8,000. There we are. Well, we've had a run of people coming on and on their very first show getting through to the final. So this is really exciting. We're just one pointless answer away from you taking that jackpot, £8,000. What would you like to see come up?
You like sport.
Sport, geography, or maybe history for me.
OK.
Pop culture for me, maybe a bit of ancient Roman Greek stuff, but hoping sport for him.
OK, well, very, very best of luck. Let's see what's on the board for you today. We can offer you these. Charlie Chaplin, American basketball, Decades of the Turner Prize, classic video games.
We'll go for basketball, please.
OK, there we are, basketball.
That was said confidently, wasn't it? I can feel the jackpot quaking behind me. Listen, if you know your basketball, I suspect this might go rather well. We are looking for any player, male or female, who's been inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, please, up to and including 2019. We are looking for any of Esquire's 20 best basketball movies ever made. They published that in 2018. Or we're looking for any opponent the United States have featured at the Olympics in a basketball match, please. So Basketball Hall of Famers, those 20 best basketball movies and United States opponents at Olympics. Very best of luck.
Thanks, Richard. As ever, you've got up to 1 minute to come up with 3 answers. All you need to win that jackpot of £8,000, let us not forget, is for just one of those answers to be pointless. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
OK, let's put 60 seconds up on the clock. There they are. Your time starts now.
Charles Barkley. Karl Malone.
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen.
He won't be one.
You don't think we've won this? Charles Barkley. Karl Malone.
What about the opponent?
Tim Duncan, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any opponents or anything?
No, just go Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You sure?
yeah, yeah.
You've still got 30 seconds.
I don't think of any more before
Are you
because
sure?
otherwise I'll forget the all. Can't.
OK. Are you happy?
Yeah, happy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Shall we stop the clock? Look at that, stopping it on 20 seconds. Let's have your three answers.
Can I have Charles Barkley,
Charles Barkley,
Karl Malone,
Karl Malone,
and Tim Duncan?
and Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Of those three, and these are all for the Hall of Fame
Yes.
players.
Yes.
Of those three, which do you think is your best shot at a pointless answer?
They're all pretty similar, really. Maybe Karl Malone's probably the most obscure.
Karl Malone goes last. Least likely to be pointless.
Charles Barkley. Probably.
Charles Barkley, and then
Tim Duncan in the
Tim
middle.
Duncan goes in the middle. OK, well, let's put those answers up on the board in that order, and here they are. We've got Charles Barkley, Tim Duncan, Karl Malone. Well, there they are, up on the board. Now, if one of these turns out to be pointless and wins that jackpot for you, £8,000 you'll be taking back with you. What would you like to do with it? Chris, I'm going to ask you first.
Well, I failed to mention earlier, we're actually engaged and we're getting married next year.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
I can't really think of anything else to put it on, really, and hopefully have a great wedding with that.
Fantastic. Jasmine, I dare you to say something else.
Yeah, probably either the wedding or the honeymoon, probably.
OK, lovely. Well, very, very, very best of luck. Three good answers here. Let's hope, as I say, one of these wins that for you. Charles Barkley, in fact, all three cases we're looking for Basketball Hall of Fame players. Charles Barkley is the one you thought was probably least likely to be pointless. Let's find out if it's right. Let's find out for £8,000 if it is pointless. Well, it's right, Charles Barkley. It just has to go all the way down to zero. And you will leave here with a jackpot of £8,000. Down we go into single figures. We're still going down, still going down. Look at that. We have done it. Very well done indeed. Charles Barkley, congratulations, was a pointless answer. You are taking home today's jackpot of £8,000. Richard.
Wow, well done. I have to say, the second you saw the word basketball on this, you sort of knew the money
didn't
was
look at any of the
in the bank.
categories.
Well, because no one knows about American sport, and people who know about it know everything. Karl Malone, also a pointless answer, unsurprisingly. Tim Duncan, I think, probably would have been, but he was only inducted in 2020, so it's just outside the remit of this. Really, really well played. Here are some of the pointless answers for the Basketball Hall of Fame players. You could have had Bill Russell, Charles Barkley there, Lisa Leslie, Wilt Chamberlain. The only people to score points at all of all the people in that Hall of Fame are Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, Dennis Rodman, Gary Payton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird and Scottie Pippen. Every single other member of the Basketball Hall of Fame is a pointless answer. So what a beautiful day to turn up. Very, very well done. Let's take a look at the basketball movies, Esquire's top basketball movies. Coach Carter, he got game. Hoosiers, like Mike. You could have had semi-pro, blue chips above the rim as a pointless answer. Love and Basketball, the Basketball Diaries as well as a pointless. You don't care, do you?
We were expected to go out in the first round. So.
You've got £8,000 to spend on your wedding and honeymoon. And those teams played by the US in the Olympics: Argentina, Croatia, Nigeria, Serbia, Italy, Estonia, Chile, Angola, Philippines, Puerto Rico, Senegal, South Korea, Switzerland, Thailand, Tunisia, Uruguay, Venezuela. Loads and loads of pointless answers there. Very well done if you got one at home. I know if you know your basketball, you would have done. And what an absolutely lovely thing to spend the money on. I'm so glad you turned up today of all days.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Richard, and thanks once again to our winning players, Chris and Jasmine, who take away today's jackpot of £8,000. Join us next time when we'll be putting more obscure knowledge to the test on Pointless. Meanwhile, it's goodbye from Richard.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.